Hello, stroke TBI and trauma survivors everywhere. Welcome to our next episode of the Hope Wave. Today's theme is One Step at a Time. I'm your co-host, Ralph Cortese.
Hi, and I'm Stacy. And today we are so honored to have a special guest, Patty. Patty is a triathlete, a mom, and a survivor who went from training for the race of her life to fighting for her life. And Patty happens to be a really good friend of mine who actually helped me. We had our health crises around the same time and really helped me out. So, Patty, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Patty, I was interested in reading that part about fighting for your life and back again. So let's go back to the beginning. Your story began in a ballroom in Orlando, kind of a moment that planted a seed, you say in your story. Tell our listeners what happened that day and how that grew into a plan to get healthier.
Sure. I was at work. I was working in Orlando. I At the time that this happened to me, I was delivering training programs, and one of our speakers who happens to be one of the partners at the firm was talking about her experience doing the Ironman triathlon, which I know to many who you may or may not know, this is no joke. This race is incredible. And I'm listening to her talk about her experience, and I was just so inspired. And I don't know, something came over me that day, that at that moment, and I said to myself, I am going to do a triathlon. I wasn't going to be crazy enough to do the Ironman triathlon, but I that gave me the motivation to when I came home, the first thing I did was to try to join a gym that had a pool.
Okay.
So that's
So,
what I did, and that's how I started. It happened as simple as that.
So, Patty, from your story, I know that you set a goal and you began to train like small, steady steps. Then suddenly something unexpected happened on February 20th. Can you walk us through that day and what you remember?
Yeah, so here I was at my new gym that I had joined. I was probably about a month in or so to my training. And again, it was just very small, like little steps. I was doing my running, I was doing some stationary biking just to kind of get the feel. The time I was at the gym on February 20th, I just had finished running, and I happened to be with my husband, which was very which would normally not happen. So that was already a weird thing that from that day. So I was standing next to him. I had finished the treadmill, and I said to him, I said, something doesn't feel right. I'm going to stop running. I'm going to go do some weights in the meantime. And I got off of the treadmill and I walked down to put my stuff down in the weight section. And the next thing I knew, I was grabbing my head and experiencing the worst pain I had ever felt in my life. And lights out. That is basically the last thing that I remember from that moment. And I crashed to the floor. And from what my husband shares is that it was just complete chaos after that. And all everybody then it was just a mad rush to get me the care that I needed from that time.
It's interesting. I don't remember my first couple of days, but I hear a lot of people in your example that don't hear about it for a while. Your husband described some stuff um, to you that you weren't aware of, and it's fascinating. You call it the Fred Flintstone feat.
Yeah.
Um, it's something that makes that so vivid. When somebody hears that, they picture a small amount of silly movement or something. What did that change? What was that?
Yeah. So
Why was that important?
I guess from that moment, so it was very touch and go after I had collapsed in the gym, and then they got me to the hospital. They were being very honest with my husband at the time that things weren't looking really good. And there I had a lot of blood on the brain, and I wasn't being as responsive as they had hoped. And it was the them not being able to perform surgery was because I wasn't showing any progress. And then the Fred Flintstone feet, as he describes it, it wiggled, and that simple movement of my toe of my ugly my not so attractive toes moving were the sign of hope, that they were like, ah, okay, now we can perform the surgery that we need to. So when he explains the story, he explains it because he's very charismatic, and he says it in a way that it really, but for me, I know my feet are not the most attractive, and now I have everyone like envisioning my fat Fred Flintstone feet. But those ugly toes moved, and that was the sign of hope, that they were like, okay, let's go, we got this now. And they performed the surgery that I needed, which was going in and coiling the aneurysm that had ruptured.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. So it was
Yeah.
like an AVM or just a,
Yes, exactly.
okay.
Exactly.
So Patty, you were lucky. Your speech was mostly intact. You didn't have paralysis, but you still had a long, long road to
Yeah.
recovery. I know from your story, like you pushed to get out of bed to walk, you never lost momentum. And now I'm getting choked up about this. Your story always does this to me. So walk us through your early days of rehabilitation. What were your biggest challenges, your scariest moments, and how did you celebrate those small victories?
I think for me, I think right away, once I knew that I could well, first of all, I knew I was talking, my memory, it was really it would I couldn't remember a lot of things. And one of the most traumatic moments was reliving, learning about my brother who had passed away last year, the year prior. And it was like I had completely didn't even remember that. So I had to relive mourning the my brother. So that was a setback emotionally. But again, once I knew that, I said, can I get out of this bed? Can I walk? And they said, yes. I said, then get me out of this bed. I was determined. I was not going to get out of this hospital in a wheelchair. I was determined to physically walk my body out. And once I knew, even if I had to use the walker for the therapy sessions, I did that. But I was determined to get back to at least walking and getting out of bed by myself.
You started PT, did you go to inpatient or you started PT soon after, or how'd that
So
work?
I started immediately, and I didn't do inpatient. I had a really good relationship with my physical therapist, who is also a really good friend. And I still to this day feel like he is a large part of the reason why I was doing as well as I was. Um, the care that I received was incredible. I was basically going, my mother-in-law moved in with us to help care for me. And she drove me, because I wasn't driving yet. She physically drove me to every physical therapy appointment, which was right in the same town that I lived in. But I went there for like at least 4 days a week. And during those sessions, I was there for like 2.5 hours at least. So it was very exhausting, but I knew every time that I was there, I was, I don't know, it's something in your mind. Like I felt I could literally feel myself getting stronger every single session that I had. And within 3 months, I was actually running again. And
Amazing.
it was I was I'm not still wasn't running fast or anything, but
Right.
I was
But you were doing it.
physically, I was running. I ran a lap around the track and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I am going to do this slowly, but I'm gonna do it.
You
And
know,
Patty,
I
oh, go ahead.
go ahead. I was going to
Patty,
say, I come from an athletic background as well, and I read in your story too, and I think I was just like this. I was ready to go back to work. You know, the first question I asked the neurologist is, when can I go back to work? You know, I found out rather quickly that was going to be a while, but
Yeah.
um, you returned to work 2 months earlier than any doctors or therapists expected.
Yeah.
Um, that's taking control of some normalcy, I think. What did going back to work matter so much to you, or why did it? And
So
what helped?
I think that's what it was, exactly what you just said. I think I just I wanted to feel normal. I wanted to be on a schedule, a normal schedule. I wanted to get up, shower, put my glasses on, and look at, you know, I I felt like, not that I was being controlling, that nobody can do the job that I did, but I just wanted to be like who I was again. And I wanted people to start including me. I felt, it's like you feel like that fear of missing out. Like you work so hard on things and you want to see them succeed and you want to see them follow through. And I was a large part of that. And I again, I think the main thing though, like you said, is normalcy and being just, trying to go back to where I was somewhat, knowing that I wasn't going to be, but still, getting up, showering, doing like little increments, like doing like a little meeting here and there. It made me feel that I had a purpose.
you know, Patty, in your story, there's so much support, right? Your husband, Chris, your daughters, your mother-in-law, even your PT, Jerry, the medical staff, and even like people you didn't even know on a Facebook survivor group.
Yes.
What kinds of support do you think were most crucial for you to give you this motivation and help you get through? And how did they show up for you?
So I'll say the first thing that really genuinely helped me was the brain and the brain aneurysm support group in Facebook on Facebook, because I and I think I've shared this with you before. I felt like a little like I had my pity party. I felt, why me? Why did this happen to me? And then as I started, reading all of the other stories of people and all of the things that they were going through, I realized that I'm like, gosh, some of these people, like, they may not even be able to walk. They may not even be able to have a job or go back to work or do any of these things. And I looked at myself, I'm like, I'm doing okay. I'm doing pretty good. And so that alone was enough of a kick for me, in a kick in the butt to be like, you're going to be fine. Enough now. Let's move forward. Let's get to what once I knew, and I have a habit of doing this with pretty much everything now. Once I can accept what is happening to me and I understand, and I know what I can and can't do. What I can do, I'm going to go full force and I'm going to do it. And that is pretty much how I tackle almost every single day. And
It makes a
I was
difference.
lucky I had the support though too. And I had a very nice boss, and I had a good, work environment. I know not everybody has that. I had um, friends around me who were like, "Hey, you want to go for a walk? Let's do this." So I had that. I had my husband who was very motivating too. Like he was tough on me some days, and he would be like, "Did you do this today? Did you do that today?" And I, as most husband and wives, I was just like, be quiet. But
Well,
it was
it's
really helpful.
yeah, and it's pretty amazing. And I just want to interject that the importance of finding support from other survivors is enormous. I didn't find that support for 6.5 years,
Uh,
so it makes a huge difference in your recovery. One of the things that interests me the most, and being an athlete prior, you didn't let this stop your athletic goals. You completed, this is just amazing to me. You've completed three triathlons, a Spartan race, a half marathon, and planned a New York City marathon. Tell us about the first triathlon you finished, and what did that crossing the finish line really mean?
so that first triathlon that I did, I actually I completed this with my physical therapist, my doctor, right next to me, guiding me throughout the entire time. And it was pretty incredible because there are times where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And he's like, yes, you can. And I said, I don't know. I don't feel good. He goes, you're going to be okay. So he really talked me through. Um, and I did, there were times where I was just, my body was just like, I don't know. It was very questionable, but my mind was like, no, you can do this. So the first triathlon I did finish, I was the last person to cross. And you see they call it the sweeper, like at the end,
Okay.
the truck that's kind of like driving behind you, picking up the empty water bottles. And once I can block that out of my head, I'm like, it's okay. This is my race. This is my race to finish. I'm going to finish it. Um, and so whether it took me longer than everybody else, I did the same exact miles as all the top finishers. I did it all. I didn't get a quick shortcut. I did the same amount. I ran the same distance. I swam the same distance, and I biked the same distance. So to me, once I knew and I can accept that, hey, I'm just slow. I'm a little bit slower. It was good for me. And I felt incredibly proud um, of what I was able to accomplish. And then the next time I did it, I went a little bit faster the next time after that. So I knew that there was room for improvement. And then with even the running, I did wind up being able to complete the New York City Marathon a couple of years ago. And I did, and it did take me a really long time, but I wasn't the last one. And you know what? It's the same exact thing. I ran the same race as everybody else. It just it was a little darker, a little colder, but I finished it. And I think that for me is one of my biggest accomplishments because it was something that I always wanted to do prior to any of this happening to me. And being that I was able to run it with other survivors as well was incredibly moving for me. And again, it was pure excitement, crossing that finish line, even though there at the time it was right when COVID happened. So they didn't allow, and there were some restrictions, but I don't know that feeling of all the hard work, all the ups and downs, it made it all like, okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
As I say often, and this is like one of my catchphrases, is we can do hard things. And I proved it that we can.
When was that first triathlon after the AVM?
When
How
was
long?
it? It was a year. It was a little over a year after.
After? Wow. God bless.
A year in a couple months, I think. Yeah. I think yeah. I'm like going back in my head. It was about a year and 3 months.
Nice. Very nice. God bless.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing, Patty.
I
Patty,
I, I just want to say I think the training that I was already doing really was the reason why I was able to recover as good as I did, is because I was already really strong. So I really feel that that is also what still keeps me going to today, is that the stronger I am, then I know the quicker I'll be able to recover if something, else comes my way.
well, it's not Patty, so so that's Patty, you and I have talked about this, and I think a lot of survivors go through this. We never quite feel like ourselves the way we used to. And I know you talk about always, there's always this little haze.
Yeah.
Do you still, are you still experiencing that? And how do you manage that on a daily basis?
Yeah, I know that we've had this discussion before, and I think each day when I wake up, the first two things I say to myself is, I think I've also shared this with you. When my feet hit the ground, I say thank you. That's number one. And then from then on, I kind of give myself like almost like an assessment, like, all right, my head's a little foggy today, this, that. Did I do this? Do that? Like, I almost kind of, I go through a checklist of how I'm feeling. I literally do that every single day. And there are days where I have to give myself an extra push. And there are days where I'm like, oh, I feel pretty good today. And on those days when I feel good, like I feel like I can do anything. I feel like I can take on the world. And on the days that I don't, maybe it's okay. Like, I think that's something that I had to learn how to, it's okay not to be okay every day. And I give myself grace, and I am kind to myself, and I don't set unrealistic expectations anymore. I, I'm not going to feel good every day. I always feel like there is a little bit of a haze, but there are days where it's not as bad as other days. And on those days where it's not as bad, like I said, that's when I hit the ground running. But then the days that I have to just accept and, okay, today do something less strenuous. And I think that that's also like something I've learned to do. On the days I do feel good, I'll push myself, and then the days that I don't, I'll work on something else. I'll maybe it's yoga or Pilates. Like, I'll just adjust. I'll adjust depending on how I feel.
You said one word that I always struggle with myself, and that's acceptance. And there's different levels, I think, and you define that. There's different levels that you have of acceptance, and you take each level of acceptance to the next step. That's why I love the title for this, one step at a time.
Yeah.
You know, it's you recognize the smaller victories every day. Um, and for listeners who might be going through something similar, facing a health crisis, or even supporting a loved one, what are the most concrete pieces of advice you would give them, and what helped you the most that others can try?
Patience. I think patience is key here.
Great word.
I think again that this is something that I had to embrace, and I think we say it multiple times throughout. It's like it's progress, not perfection. And that is something that I've held on to this entire time. And I still feel like I make progress each year, but it doesn't it may not look like it should to everybody else, but for me, it's progress. Um, I also, again, with the patience is being kind to yourself and giving a little bit of grace. Not every day is going to be a great day, but every day is a good day, in my opinion, as well. You know, every day that we're here and every day that we're able to get out of the bed is a good day, in my opinion. So I use that um, as my initial motivator each and every single day. Um,
Love that. I think I'm going to get a tattoo on my arm. Progress, not perfection.
yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
we forget those little things.
Well, that's what
Like,
I think in all of this. I think it's, you know, I try to take this, as I call it, like horrific experience. However, it really it brought so much to light for me that um I own my health now, and I take such good care of myself. Was you know, even though I felt like I was taking good care of myself prior, but like yeah, it's like I can really own, I can honestly sit here and say I own every bit of my health, and everything that I do is to you know is to make myself healthier, and you know to just strive to feel good every day.
So Patty, I think we have like I have one more question before we wrap up that I wanna ask you. You've always said that you want your girls to know what it means to be a fighter. How do you show them that now in ways beyond the races and the medals? How do you do that?
So for me, I think and what they've been able to experience and see, they that I show up, and I show up for them every day, and I stay positive. I never let them ever see me. I really don't. I'm very conscious of this. I really try not to let them. I mean, I'm human at the same time, but I really um, try not to let them ever see me complain too much and give up. And if I see that they're struggling, I try to, you know, are you not feeling well? Or are you hurt? Are you this? Or you're that? You know, like I try to not diminish like what they're, you know, what they're feeling, but at the same time I, okay, well maybe if you try it this way, you know, I find that I've been able to talk to them differently about things because I've experienced now where I'm just like, oh, just stay home and do this. Or I feel like I've been able to kind of give them a little bit more motivation. Well, maybe once you get going, you'll feel better. Type of thing.
makes sense. Before we wrap up, I'll jump over there to any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with, a phrase, an image, a song, uh, something that anchored you through tough days.
Um, I have like there's like a few, for me, I think I said it earlier, we can do hard things. That is something that sticks with me. Um, my other is if I'm gonna survive, I'm gonna thrive. And I feel like I've proven that. Um, I I'm grateful for every single day that I'm here, and I plan to. I mean, it's hard to talk about sometimes, but again, I feel like I survived for a reason, and I'm gonna, if I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna kill it, and I'm gonna show up every day.
Patty, thank you for sharing your story so honestly today. It's a powerful reminder that recovery's it's not going to be a straight line all the time. And what matters is showing up and putting one foot in front of the other, one step at a time.
Yep, every small step, every breath, every day we choose to keep going, I think that's hope in motion. Patty's journey reminds us the healing isn't about where we finish, but it's the courage to begin, no matter how much time it takes.
And to everyone listening, whether you're a survivor, a care partner, or walking beside someone on their road to recovery, remember, you don't have to climb the whole mountain today. And you're a great example here, Pat. Just take the next step. Reach out for support, find your tribe, celebrate the tiny victories that lead to the big changes.
And I would ask that everyone listening today join us in spreading that hope. Share this episode, check on someone who might need a little encouragement, and never, ever underestimate the power of showing up. Together, we can create a wave of strength that carries all of us forward.
This has been the Hope Wave, where stories of courage remind us that no matter what we face, we can keep moving one step at a time.
Keep the faith, keep the hope, and as we like to say here at Stroke Warrior Radio, catch the wave. Warriors achieving victories every day. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.